that, Joe. I'll roll with you. Anyway.
Don't do it.
Anyway, no, Joe Rogan, the way that he does it is, they just record it. They've got a camera on each view, and then they just edit and post after the fact.
Sweet. Oh.
They can even, they don't do it. They don't edit heavily, but they edit the video heavily, but they don't edit the audio heavily, but they could.
Only if Alex Jones is on, then they edit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I'm sure there's parts that you miss of those.
Parts of Alex Jones,
like of the podcast that you miss, like with him. I'm sure they really do. They're probably like, he goes on a tangent here that we cannot put out.
Yeah, we can't. Those child that.
Who's there? It's rare. Who's there? It's rare. Come fill your time, this pod's for all. From the Finger Lakes, join in the call. Learn something new about the Cuca Trail. Upstate New York, every episode I tell. Who's there? It's rare. Who's there? It's rare. It's rare.
Boom. 2 viewers, 2 likes, man. Wow, you people are...
Thanks, guys.
Are impressive.
We love you. Send us a comment. Let us know who you are. Ask us a question.
All right, you guys are going to see me interview Phil real quick. So,
oh boy,
as a friend, you always you think about like, oh, why don't I really know why my friend did this? What made you choose your career path?
Oh shit. Poor judgment. Oh man, I don't know. It's kind of interesting, I guess, unless you hate boring stuff. That just I got interested in. I mean, my dad was a coach. He's coached over 100 seasons of athletics.
Wow.
At the high school level. He's going to be starting tomorrow coaching at the college level.
Awesome.
So that's kind of interesting for his retirement gig.
Yeah.
And
for sure. I saw that post. That was a good one.
Yeah. So I was always around sports. I got interested in medicine. Seemed like a natural fit. I always thought I was going to just go be a surgeon or something, but then seems like as an athletic trainer, I'm a lot more involved in, the sports part of it than you would be as a surgeon. It's kind of nice. I mean, you just don't get those relationships. You see somebody, if you're a surgeon, you see somebody once, twice, hopefully not more than that. Sometimes more than that. But for me, it's, I can be right on the sideline, which I like the days of being excited for being on the sideline are over.
Oh, really?
Kind of. Yeah. Like there's sometimes when, like for certain events, it's kind of fun. Like when I went to the rodeo, it's kind of like, oh, I'm going to be on the sideline for this,
really cool.
This new different thing.
Yeah.
When I went out on the bench for my first hockey game, when I went to my first hockey national championship, those things, you're like a little bit, oh, this is special. You can tell it's special. But, when your job is being around sports, every day, all day, you kind of get, it's a little bit less exciting.
Yeah.
But it's the relationships that you have. It changes why you like being there. I don't like being there because of the sports anymore. I like being there because of the people.
Gotcha. Interesting. So was it ever like you at one point you thought like every kind of young boy does, like, hey, I'm going to be a professional athlete?
Totally.
And then like it got to the point where you're like, yeah, that's probably out of like the realm of possibility. So you're like, I'm just going to work in sports. Is that where you went to?
When I was 6, I could switch hit.
Okay. That's pretty good. I couldn't even hit
like not
regular.
Not great. Not great. But I could do it. Hey, Melissa, I could do it. Yeah. Wasn't very good at it. Probably, I mean, at that level, nobody's good at it though. Right? When you're that age, nobody's good at it.
Yeah.
eventually I got less good at it. So moved on.
Yeah.
Here we are.
I was just, so I remember as a kid, the whole time I was like, and then I kept it up at a high level in high school, but you always hit that point where you're like, you actually get to play against people that are
Actually good.
like really good athletes,
Yeah,
like
yeah.
above you, and you're like, whoa, like I'm really outclassed.
I'm just getting manhandled.
And that's when I was like, sports management. Like I'll never forget that. Like you remember those classes? Like what do you do with that? I don't even know. Maybe some people get lucky and
I never took sports management.
I don't even.
I
know
took
what
anatomy.
Yeah,
like people still think. It took me several years. Sorry, Mom, to throw you under the bus, but it took me even several years until my mom understood that I really do not work in a gym. Like my office is in a gymnasium,
right?
But like I'm not gym staff, like,
right?
I'm healthcare staff, and nobody understands that. And I find myself constantly explaining that because the title of our profession is it's disastrous. Like you can't athletic trainer.
Right.
Isn't remotely a good description of what we do and what our skill set is. So I always find myself having to explain that no, we're not a physical personal trainer or whatever. I'm not there to get you pumped up. I do sometimes use exercise as a treatment, but I'm not doing exercise to get you fit. I'm doing exercise to get you back from an injury.
Cool. Interesting.
It
was kind of an accident then.
Oh yeah. That career. Well, yeah. So and interestingly, so here's, if you really want to get a little bit closer to it, when I got to college, I got hurt during cross country practice right away, and I went to see the athletic trainer, Jeff, who's my boss now, and he fixed me up. And after me going in for a couple weeks, he said, what's your major? And I said, biology. He goes, what do you plan to do? And I told him, and I didn't know that was my interview, but he hired me right there for 4 years to work for him as an undergrad work study student.
Really?
And then at the end of it, he handed me the application for the grad school, and he said, here, there, if you're interested in this, here you go.
Wow.
And wrote me a nice recommendation, and that's what I did.
Cool. Interesting.
He's definitely taken me down an interesting path.
Yeah.
With a lot of interesting people.
Now, most embarrassing moment, like if you slipped on the ice, like going out to like help a kid, or like dropped a gurney, or done any of those?
No.
Crazy.
I'm like James Bond.
Yeah.
When it comes to sports medicine.
You've never like slipped on the field, like running out real quick and it's damp and you slip, or you slipped on the ice trying to nothing crazy like that?
I never fell on the ice.
No. Wow.
The guys would always it always annoy me because whenever somebody would get hurt on the ice, two guys would always skate over so you could like grab onto them and walk over there.
Yeah.
And I'm like, all right, like you can skate next to me, but I'm not holding on. Like I'm fine. I'm on my way.
Really?
I'm coming. Yeah.
Is it? It's pretty slippery.
And like when I started out, everybody's like, oh, you got to get the Yak tracks or the little cleats for your shoes. You don't need them.
Really?
You don't need them. No, you just have to learn some coordination and how to walk on ice. The key is, I think you walk a little bit like Jesus.
I'm sure Jeff has some stories.
James,
I wish I was there.
Yeah, Jeff.
Yeah, I wish I was there for that interview.
Oh my God.
That would have been awesome. And the fact that the Eagles, because I'm a diehard Eagles fan.
Yeah.
So the fact that he had anything to do with the Eagles is impressive.
A lot of cool stories from the Eagles days from Jeff.
Because he probably was working there. I know you're not really all that huge into sports, but it used to be the Vet, and that was a really old ass stadium and crazy compared to Lincoln Financial now. But sure, he's got some stories, man.
I'm just trying to think of I don't know. I can't think of any stories of where I did something goofy.
I don't know. I just was wondering.
I do
like
goofy stuff.
You just slip and fall on the ice.
I do goofy stuff in real life all the time, but I don't know. I mean,
you ever had to help a ref?
Oh yeah.
You have?
Yeah, all the time. I had one ref got a hockey puck to the face. You know, they try to get out of the way, but when they chip the puck and ricochet it off the board, and they shoot it right at the ref sometimes. And
Jesus.
the one, it hit him right in the mouth.
Oh,
And it cut through all the way to his teeth. It cut right through his lip. It's like that. That was wild. I had one where there was a coach on the bench. There are 2 coaches on the bench, and the one was talking to a player. And so the one was standing directly behind the other. And the first one saw the puck coming, so he ducked. The one standing directly behind him had no idea, and it smashed his nose. It was like flat.
You can't do anything for a broken nose, right? You just like tape it or something. I don't know what the hell can you even do.
They do stuff for it.
Do they?
You know, I don't do anything for it, but the doctors, if it makes it hard for you to breathe, they'll, you know,
a deviated septum.
Yeah.
I don't know. I was told I had one when I got my nose broke once doing.
Can you breathe?
Yeah, fine. They just did this thing, like where they stick something up there and then they, like burn it. You ever heard of that?
Yeah, cauterizer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, because you get punched in the nose so many times, your nose gets all messed up. So then the only time they'd ever put anything is when they'd re-straighten your nose because they just didn't want you to like bump it and like so it's out of place. Oh God.
They always try to, like doctors that don't really know. Oh man, I don't want to call anybody out. So I'm not saying anything about anybody specific, but doctors who don't really know as much about sports, because you know, you got some that work with sports all the time and have actually been involved with sports, played sports, been on the sideline, and they understand it a little bit. And then you've got some who really never had anything to do with sports. They just happen to occasionally have a patient who's an athlete. And usually the ones who occasionally have a patient who's an athlete really think that they know something they should do. And it's like, I've never seen this before, or like I've seen this 4 times, and it was by other doctors who've gotten no involvement with sports.
Okay.
And like one of those is for people with a broken nose, they'll make those face shield things. You ever seen those?
Yeah, like Kobe Bryant played with one. I remember. Yeah. And Rip Hamilton, and
they're stupid.
They're supposed to make it so you can't get hit in the nose again, right?
Yeah,
and get hurt. Because your nose it's sensitive.
For most sports, right? They don't make any sense.
Yeah.
And
I just know basketball.
Especially basketball, I don't love it for basketball, but I see it because there's so much contact with that part of the body. But for most sports, it just makes it harder for you to see.
Yeah, I could imagine.
You're just more likely to get hurt, probably.
Interesting. Yeah. It's got to be hard to play. Sports everything's about a rhythm, so it's got to be comfortable. Like the more comfortable you are and the more loose you are and the better rhythm you are, I always felt like the better you play. So just like changing one thing, like you ever seen like during a wet game when a quarterback will put a glove on one of their hands, and they always end up ripping the glove off and throwing it.
Yeah,
because like it
doesn't help.
It just like puts them in such a like you're out of your thing.
Yeah,
you just go play, be comfortable. So. Fun.
So when I'm trying to remember this story. There's a couple different stories with the bus. So when I was a student, I want to say maybe my sophomore year, I was scheduled for some reason. It was my first time getting on a bus to go to an away game for lacrosse. And I get on the bus and I'm looking around for where I'm going to sit, and I sit down in a seat, and like people just keep coming and are like, and I was the weakest link. Like I was a student athletic trainer. I wasn't on the team. So they were like, oh yeah, you get to have the day off.
Really? They just threw you off the bus?
Yeah. I was like the one person they didn't think they needed.
Great.
So I got to get back off the bus, and I go in and I said, hey, there wasn't room on the bus for me, so I don't know what you want me to do.
Yeah.
And my luck was that there was a synchronized swimming tournament that day. And I got told, look, this is the one day you're allowed to wear flip-flops to work. Go change into something that you can sit in a hot, muggy room for like 11 hours.
That's the worst. And
it was
chlorine.
And they've got lifeguards, so Like my whole job was basically keep the water coolers full and make sure people had a bag of ice if they needed it.
You didn't hold up numbers and judge or anything like that.
I should have.
Should have.
Just to mess with them.
Yeah, just give
Just
them,
like
ones, 2, 3s.
ancillary. Just over on the side. 14.
14. Oh God, that's funny.
No, but I think Jeff still feels bad about that one because
Was Jeff on the bus?
no, he couldn't go on the bus. He wasn't on the bus because we had home stuff that day, so he couldn't travel because he was the only athletic trainer.
So the team went without any athletic trainer.
They might have had another student. I think I was going with another student.
Now, aren't coaches have to get trained a little bit in this stuff, right?
Yeah, they know CPR.
It's just like
A little
the
bit
basics.
of first aid.
Yeah, I mean, they probably don't know how to help a dislocated shoulder, right?
No,
You wouldn't think.
Well, I mean, just what you learn in first aid class.
Yeah,
Just stabilize it. But the bigger, I mean, it's not their job.
right,
Like they need to be able, they have a job that they have to focus on,
right.
and they don't have. It's not their job. And not only that, but they want to get players back. You can't get players back if you don't have somebody who knows what they're doing to be able to look at somebody and say it's safe.
Right. Interesting. Yeah. It's definitely a lot different than the older years.
But I think Jeff would pick out the students who were annoying him and give them the synchronized. I hope I'm not giving away a secret. Give them the synchronized swimming meets. And he told me, he's like, yeah, no, I felt bad because like you weren't on that list.
You weren't on
and
the
you just, it was just timing.
Oh God, that's funny. Yeah.
So what made you choose to be a code enforcing, distilling restaurateur?
Nothing. That wasn't the plan. No plan.
No plan.
That was not the plan.
It
It was always be a cop.
Like I like whiskey, so
That's what it was gonna be. It's gonna be a cop. So
you couldn't make it through police academy.
think about it when like if you're an athlete, especially if you like physical adrenaline, because my favorite thing was always like before the game, that like anxious feeling of like until you hit someone. Like, there's something about like before you actually get on the field and get hit.
Oh yeah.
Like I don't know, I loved it. I don't know what the feeling is, and then you finally like make contact and you're playing, and I don't know, it's just adrenaline. So it's like,
yeah, your adrenaline kicks in early.
how do you keep that into a professional life? So that's kind of where it was like,
Gotcha.
what is adrenaline related?
So you wanted to be a cop so you could hit people.
Yeah, there you go. Like where's the adrenaline? And it was like military. I'm not big on flying at all. I don't like to fly. So kind of military was like done. It was like, yeah, I don't want to be on planes all the time. So I was like, a cop? Yeah, that seems like there's a lot of adrenaline. You're walking up to a car, windows are tinted, you don't know what's on the other side. It's like, yeah, it's kind of.
I'd sure like there to be less adrenaline
same feeling
in law enforcement.
Yeah, I know, but it's just
like that's how bad things happen.
Yeah.
Is people not being calm.
That's true.
And prepared.
Interesting. I mean, it's all, now that I think of it in retrospect, but it's like, yeah, maybe that's adrenaline in a professional, especially somebody that's supposed to be serving and protecting, is probably not the best thing.
It's probably not.
But it exists. It does exist.
Oh, yeah,
no matter what.
Rampant.
So then I was like, oh, MMA. That's where I started getting into adrenaline. And then I was like, oh, you actually get really hurt and it's not fun and you're not that good, so you should stop. So then I stopped doing that to do. Yeah. So there you go. And somehow here I am owning a restaurant and distillery with zero adrenaline. None. So very funny.
But at least you get to be an enforcement of codes.
Code enforcement.
Codes.
Yeah. Those poor guys. Every time you go up to a job, like this week was hot.
Oh,
like
yeah.
these guys were working their asses off. And I get out of this like AC truck, and I'm like clean, all my hair looks all nice. I go up, I'm like, man, it is a tough one out. It is freaking hot, and the guys just look at me, and I'm like, they're gonna strangle me. I need to get back in the
How
truck
about
and
this
go.
heat?
They were pissed, and I did it like not thinking, right? It's just like weather.
You're an
how
asshole.
like an icebreaker.
Yeah, you're an
Like
asshole.
talking about man, it's hot. Yeah, it's freaking hot, and I'm like in an AC. It's so funny. I'll just never forget the look on the guy's face, and when you said something, you're like, oh, I like pissed him off.
Oops.
Yeah, it's like that
Oh.
was the look, and I was like, oh, yeah, that wasn't the right thing to do. Hi, Jude. How's it going?
It's my mom.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
Hi.
I saw her comment on your picture of you and Hawkeye. Yeah.
Good old Hawkeye.
Yeah. Hawkeye really makes the pictures look good that you take.
He helps. I mean, because he can divert some of the attention.
That was funny. Oh, man. Yeah. Anyways, so code enforcement. I was thinking that the other day. I was watching a preseason football game, and I saw the guy get obliterated, and like the people came out, and I was like, man, it looks kind of fun. Like, it shouldn't be fun that people get hurt, but to be like, to go out there and like you have to like I don't know what they are. Are they athletic trainers? Those people that come out in the field when someone gets hurt, like
That's
same
me.
thing. Yeah,
That's me.
yeah. So, and they like come out. You got to move this guy to keep the game going. So, because obviously there's TV and stuff, and at the same time, you gotta make sure the guy's not dead. Like
Well, sure. And
you're doing like the CTE like stuff and trying to make sure they're not concussed. Like I was like, I'm sure there's a bit of like, and it's quick, right? Because you can't sit there all day.
You can sit there all day if you have to.
Yeah, but they get them off the field.
Do you know why? So here's the thought process, right? You have all the time that you want. If somebody's hurt, that's your space. You take it.
Yeah. Okay.
You get out there, and if their life is in danger, or if they're in danger of some kind of permanent injury, life or limb kind of deal, right? You're not going anywhere. Like, you're going to be there as long as you need to. But if you make sure that they're not dying, you make sure that they're not at risk from moving them, then move them, and then go do, a more extensive evaluation on the sideline. Get what information you need on the field, and then if they're safe to move them.
Interesting. I always thought they just had to move them because it seems like they move at a like quick pace, and it's cool to see the other teams people come at the same time. You get your side and the other side, and both are kind of checking them out, looking at them, and yeah, pretty interesting stuff. So it's got to be. I wonder what that pays. That's got to be good pay. You get like, think about it, like you're in the NFL.
It's still not. It's not what it ought to be.
No, because I would think, especially now with all the CTE measures, right? Concussion protocol. Oh shit, it's not.
Yeah.
What?
It's not.
That's it? Wow. $46,500 a year to be an NFL athletic trainer. To work on guys that get paid $10 million a year. That's crazy. Huh.
Yeah, it's not a good scenario.
Do you think people ever get like attached?
But they get bonuses
emotionally
and tips and stuff like that. Like that's the thing with NFL is like the guys that make a lot of money, usually they'll throw you something.
If you're doing it for a team and like you see somebody like, let's say basketball, like LeBron James get hurt, like you're just like, I wonder if these like trainers, like, I mean, after a while, like these people are like family. You're with them all the time. I mean, it's got to be tough to see them get hurt, and it's got to be interesting. It's an interesting profession.
It's just when you do your job,
Yeah.
like that's what you're there for. You're there to make sure that they can be healthy. And I get, every once in a while you get somebody who says, oh yeah, like I didn't want to tell you I was hurt because anything, like usually because I was afraid you were going to take me out of the game. It's like the only reason I'm taking you out of a game is if it's not safe for you to be in a game.
All right.
I'm there to make it so that if it's safe, it, and that if there's something I can do to make it so that it's more comfortable for you to play, or that you can have a better chance of playing or prevent injury, prevent you from getting worse. That's what I'm there for. Like that's my job is never to take people out of the game unless they shouldn't be there.
Right. Yeah. Oh, it used to be the old school mentality was you're tough and you stay and keep playing. But here you go. Here's one thing we used to do. We all swore by it. Bananas at halftime. Yes or no?
It's not meat.
What do you? It was it dumb? Do you think it affected anything for us?
It probably gave some guys a tummy ache.
So you don't think like that potassium helped with the cramping or anything like that? 'Cause
Probably
that's
not.
what we all. I mean, used to always like we'd all have a banana like at halftime, thinking it would do something
for the potassium
Yeah.
to get from a banana.
Listen,
well,
I'm just
but
telling
no,
you, we were in high school,
Listen,
man.
for the potassium from a banana
to
you're gonna during halftime absorb, digest that like all the nutrients from a banana and it be in your bloodstream and then get to the parts of your body where you need it.
Hey, I don't know.
Because
we used to think
like
so.
the potassium even needs to get further, and it's just the timeline for that doesn't match up for me. But maybe a sport drink, maybe like a low sugar sport drink.
Not Gatorade is what you're saying. There goes
they've
their
got
sponsorship.
they've got low sugar Gatorade.
Powerade.
I don't know if I think they have low sugar Powerade too.
Yeah.
But no, I could see getting some electrolytes for sure, because you need, mostly at that point it's to help your body hold on to the water, because you're losing electrolytes as you're sweating. So you need to have water, and you need electrolytes to keep it to the right concentration.
I never felt like having Gatorade. I never felt good after having Gatorade, like playing while playing.
It's because of the sugar.
Yeah, it felt horrible. Just like water was better.
But if you can do it, if you could just get water with electrolytes in it, you could have Gatorade, the Gatorade Zero or whatever, the G2 or what, like the low sugar, no sugar Gatorades.
Gave everyone Pedialyte.
Those are fine. Pedialyte has sugar in it too.
Oh, does it really?
I think so.
Oh, I didn't know.
I don't know.
You give it to babies.
I never
so
drink
like,
Pedialyte, but I think it's.
Yeah.
But yeah, water is great. If you can get some salt in your diet, that's even better.
Really?
Yeah, you gotta have salt.
Okay.
Electrolytes are salt.
Right. Okay.
You need salt. So like for every little salt molecule, it's like 6 water molecules surround it.
Interesting.
So you have to have,
okay,
like they all work together kind of deal.
Cool. Electrolytes. There you go. That guy that made Gatorade up. You ever like watched or read up on that? It's a pretty interesting
Down in Florida?
story. Yeah. It's really interesting, actually.
I have a little bit, but not.
And a lot of it was, I think, a hoax, or not a hoax. I mean, it just felt like, one team won, and go ahead. You can
No, go ahead.
talk out. But it was like one of the college teams won because they were drinking Gatorade. I think it was the
Gators.
The Gators or the Hurricanes.
It was the Florida
Was
Gators.
it the Florida Gators?
Right?
Yeah. So one of them. And it's like, they're like, it's because of the Gatorade.
Right.
It's like water would have done the same thing. They just had a good team. So it's
they
like
made
pretty cool. Like
billions of dollars.
Billions of dollars.
For
off a sugary
orange
sport
sugar
drink.
water.
Yeah.
I can't remember. Was the original orange or was it lemon lime?
I think it was green. I think it was
lemon lime. Yeah.
And it makes sense. Well, no, Florida oranges would work too. I don't know. Who knows, to be honest. So, yeah. Anyways, I guess we can stop the sport talk, but yeah. Gatorade. We should wait before we stop. We should make a sports drink with alcohol. Yeah. Alcohol loosens you up a little bit. Yeah.
But you're not allowed to put anything on a label for something that has alcohol in it that says that it's good for you. Right?
We're going to say it's not bad for you, though.
What about, have you seen this water, the canned water that's called Liquid Death?
You got to Google that.
You can get a can of water called Liquid Death.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Liquid Death.
Yeah. Look at that can.
I thought that was beer. It looks like beer, dude.
I know, but it's water. See, mountain water.
Why? What's the reasoning?
It's just water. Instead of being in a plastic, but it's to reduce
murder your thirst. What?
It's the whole plan is to reduce plastic waste.
Cool. Okay.
So they use cans that are recyclable instead of plastic that's probably going to end up in the ocean.
I really don't like the labeling for water. As a consumer, I don't think I'm going to buy Liquid Death. It looks like a full throttle energy drink.
It does.
Yeah.
Yeah. I've had Red Bull water.
What?
Red Bull makes water. I mean, they bottle water.
Really?
Yeah.
What the hell?
I don't know if they do it here, but in Austria.
Red Bull water.
Tonic.
My God, Red
like
Bull.
all these different.
Yeah, it's like $5 a thing for it though, because it's Red Bull.
But I bet we could make a hell of a recovery drink with, runners. They love having a beer after a long run. Yeah, pretty much anybody, athletes. Yeah. I think they just
any person usually likes to have a beer after.
But after exercise,
yeah. Like a low alcohol, or do you think you'd want like a? I don't know.
Probably low alcohol.
Yeah, something like just take the edge off. Yeah.
Yeah, there might be something there.
Yeah, we'll see. See what happens.
I can guarantee you, if you could find a name that you could get past the government trolls, you could make a fortune.
It'd be interesting.
Now, what are we looking? Great book, 32 Years from the Best Seat in the House by Gary Vitti. For 32 years, Gary was the athletic trainer for the Lakers. A great read for any sports fan. I'm not an NBA fan, but it demonstrates the unique relationship between Gary and Kobe Bryant and many other Laker greats. Cool.
I'll definitely check that out.
I like the book. I got a book. Oh, I think I have it. No, I gave it to my grandfather. My grandfather has this book, but we can order one if you want. That I got from Jeff, actually, called You're Okay, It's Just a Bruise.
Okay.
And it was about this guy, Louis Huizinga, I think. I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but he was like the doctor for all these celebrities out in California.
Okay.
And he wrote the book, but in the book, he kind of makes himself out to be a good doctor.
Yeah.
And he says, he found out that the doctor for the Oakland Raiders was going to be done after that year, and they needed a new doctor. So he jumped on along with the doctor, the orthopedist that had been there forever, who turned out in the description in the book to be a bit of a quack.
Oh, great.
And like scary stuff.
Wow.
And really cool stories. And I flipped this book open. I didn't have time to read the whole thing, but enough for me to want to like buy the book and read the rest of it. I opened up to like some chapter, and he's telling this story about there's a game, and one of the guys was really sick, and he was going to play anyway, and he had diarrhea, but he's going to play football. So he's out there playing.
Okay.
And it's halftime, and he doesn't get up. And so they run out and they kind of help him off the field, and they're, walking into the tunnel, and they're helping him out down the tunnel. And he's like, Doc, they're wearing white pants, he's like, if you get me off this field.
So he just had to go to the locker room.
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
So this guy throws his beer at him because they're in an away game. This guy throws his beer at him. The one guy goes and grabs him, almost kills him with his helmet, just misses, whiffs, thank God. So they're in the locker room, and they're in the athletic training room, and the guy, they've got an IV because he's so dehydrated he couldn't get up. So they've got an IV in each of his arms.
Okay.
And so he's like this. And he goes, the doctor goes to work on some other guys, and he goes, Doc, come get these out of me. I got to go. And he's like, We got like 15 minutes left to halftime. He's like, no, I got to go. And he like kind of points. And they're like, well, shit, we can't take the IVs out because we need to get the fluids in. So they help him into the stall.
With IVs in them?
This giant NFL player with IVs in each arm. And they're in the stall. And they've got like an athletic trainer in the stalls next to him holding the IV bags up. And the doctor's like standing in there in case he like, tips over or something. And he gets finished. And
That's an interesting story.
He can't bend his arms.
Oh no. No.
So the athletic
don't get paid enough
the
money.
head
for
athletic
that.
trainer's looking down at him. He goes, "Hey doc, I bet your buddies back at Harvard would love to see you right now."
Oh no. No. Nope.
So I said, I got to read this book.
Yeah.
I got to read this book, and it's anybody who wants to learn about some like crazy shit from the Raiders in the mid '80s.
Wow.
Or about like crazy stuff that happens in sports medicine, even at the highest levels. Just, you're okay. It's just a bruise. Louis Huizinga.
Interesting. That's no. I would have been unemployed that day. Yeah. That would have been over.
And then, they make the joke too that, those guys are so big.
Mm-hmm.
And so he's like, he makes this reference to when they've got heat illness, or, if they are suspected it, the only way to take their temperature, if you think if they're getting heat stroke or rectal. So they're so big. He goes, yeah. Could you let out a fart and give me a clue?
Oh my God. This book is an interesting book. So the guy was a quack though? Like, did he get found?
So there was a guy that was on the way that it all came down was there was a guy on the field, and this is how it got its name. This is how the book got its name. There was a guy that was down on the field, and he got hit hard, or he hit somebody. I can't remember what the cause of the injury was, but he's laying there and he's having symptoms in his arms and legs. Like the doctor that wrote the book says, yeah, we got to spine board him. We've got to get him on a spine board and get him off, and then get him like x-rays immediately. And this orthopedist who's like over the hill comes out, grabs the guy's head, goes, "You're okay. It's just a bruise." Gets him up.
Moved his neck and everything like that?
Yep.
Was the guy messed up?
No, but he could have been.
Whoa. Interesting.
I mean, and that's it, right? Like, he had all the signs.
You're not supposed to move the neck until you have x-rays, right? Isn't that
You're not, not necessarily.
Okay. I don't know.
But you're not supposed to move the neck until you're sure that it's safe.
I just remember high school when you laid someone out, and like
everyone
person was like, just keep your head, hold your head straight. Like, they would always hold their head straight.
Right.
I don't know why.
Until somebody that knows what they're doing can actually come and assess and make sure that there's no injury there.
Gotcha.
Because every single person that has a collision doesn't get a neck x-ray.
Right.
Like, every time that you hit somebody on a football field, they don't get an x-ray. But you have to at least make sure that there's not an injury there before you send them away. And this guy just comes up. He doesn't ask him any questions. He just goes, "You're okay. It's just a bruise."
Jesus.
And that guy, he said, he yelled at the author. He said, "Listen, like, you scared that guy. Like, you didn't need to scare him like that. And he was like, "No, he should have had x-rays." He could have been paralyzed for the rest of his life.
Yeah.
And like 2 days later, that football player came back in and was like, "Doc, we need you here," because he was thinking about quitting after that. He's like, "Doc, we need you here because somebody has to be the person saying we have to get x-rays.
Yeah.
We need somebody who's going to basically protect us from this other doctor."
Dude.
Yeah.
Crazy.
It's kind of wild, but it's a cool book to read those stories.
So, talking about bruises, are you supposed to rub out a bruise? You ever heard that?
Doesn't that feel like nonsense?
Is it true?
No, don't rub a bruise.
Yeah, that was
you
the
kidding?
thing. That was
Like,
the
that's-
thing.
that's
That people used to
absurd
say. It
for
was
several reasons.
like if you rub it out, like it clears it up or some shit.
They're like a week later, if you in certain scenarios.
Yeah, I'm not saying instantly, but I'm saying like you have
Yeah, but people
like
think
a huge stinger and like it is not going away, and you're like a couple days in, you're
but
like,
you have to do it right, and it's
yeah. See, I don't know. I just remember
So,
being told that.
like
so.
if you get people do this, right? So I had a guy pissed me off. I had a not at my current job. I had a player get hit in the quad. He had a quad
Mhm.
contusion, a deep thigh,
Bam, and those are
a
ugly.
deep thigh contusion. No, it wasn't ugly.
Oh,
It didn't look like anything
Oh,
because deep thigh contusions are under the muscle.
oh, okay.
Like it's up against the bone. So those are the ones that get really scary because, well, not scary, but those are the ones that are tricky because they're deep and you have to know what you're looking for and how to find it. But so back to a bruise, right? A bruise is what?
I mean, I'm not. Well, I don't know. I just thought it was like blood
Yeah.
coming to the surface. I mean,
Yeah,
I don't know what that
right.
is.
It's like bleeding, right?
Yeah.
But it's just inside.
Yeah.
Yeah. So you get bleeding.
Yeah.
Rubbing something does what to your blood flow?
I mean, I would say rub. See, I was always told when you rubbed it out that you're just like you're getting it. I don't know, out of there. I don't freaking know.
Right.
I don't
So
know.
so if you rub something, it increases your blood flow.
Right.
Do you
Yeah,
want your
friction.
blood flow to increase in an area where you're bleeding?
No, that would be bad.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm getting at. So anyway, this kid gets a deep thigh contusion. His coach tells him that he should rub it. And then he tells him something else. And then he says, don't bother to see the athletic trainers because he knows what he's doing. Meanwhile, so like this was a time when I wasn't like at every practice. So the kid like waits 2 weeks before I ever see him. And because of it, and because of the way that what his coach told him in the meantime, he ended up being out for over 2 months from a ding on the thigh.
Really?
And what happens with a deep thigh contusion if you don't treat it properly is that blood, instead of coming to the surface and making a bruise, it's underneath the muscle up against the bone. And I like to describe it this way, right? So those bruises, it forms like a little area of blood.
Mm-hmm.
And it forms then like the healing process, right? Then you get a callus of like blood and connective tissues and whatever else in there. And when you heal, it heals to be like whatever is next to it, right? You get a cut in your skin, it fills in with skin. You get a tear in your muscle, it fills in with muscle kind of deal, right? So if you get this callus between your muscle and your bone, it's like, all right, what am I next to? Oh, there's some bone. So like instead of absorbing, sometimes if you don't treat it properly, it can start to get calcium in it because it's next to a bone. It says, oh, I should be bone.
Really?
And then you get
the body's
this
crazy,
like
man.
nasty like calcium bit on the underside of your muscle.
Mm-hmm.
And then good luck, right?
Wow.
And then you're going to be in pain for a while.
Wow.
So
interesting.
So it's really important. Yeah. To
see, I was never told to do it after but it was like a week and it's still like big and it's like, rub it out, get the blood out of there. Like, I don't know. So
yeah. No, there's certain situations. Sure.
Yeah, okay.
But it's really just not something that I recommend people just decide to do on their own.
Yeah. A high school football
or
coach
just listen to their high
shouldn't
school football coach.
recommend that, but
No, that's why really if it's like an irritating thing for athletic trainers to listen to schools say that they can't afford an athletic trainer, but at the same time they say that we got this football team that we had since 1912 and whatever. It's like, okay, well, you can afford a football team. An athletic trainer is required equipment, If you can't afford an athletic trainer, you cannot afford a football team. So every school, if you're out there, if you are involved with a school that has a football team and doesn't have an athletic trainer, you don't have all the required equipment. Like you're putting those kids in danger. And despite, I know a lot of them have EMTs on the sideline. EMTs are not an athletic trainer. EMTs are great in certain situations, but you
Emergency situations.
yeah,
But they're not going to know if you have a concussion or not, right?
right.
Yeah.
And some of them have a little bit. I mean, they have a little bit of training in that, but nobody has, unless you're a neurologist or somebody who's done specialized training in concussion. Nobody does more with concussion than athletic trainers do.
Yeah. And that's got to be a tough one to figure out, especially mild, because the eyes will react if you have a mild, right?
Well, I had a coach one time say, well, his eyes looked fine. And I was like, what are you looking at? What are you looking for? What test did you do on his eyes? You just looked at him and you're like, oh, you don't look glazed over. Like what the hell does your eyes look fine mean?
I mean, for me, and again, no training, just being in sports, was a lot of times it's like the whole like light in the eye, like checking to make sure they dilate and all that stuff. So
Jesse, if they don't dilate, you got a lot bigger problems.
So that doesn't really do anything.
No, that would be a sign of bleeding in your brain.
Wow. Ouch.
If you're seeing stuff with the pupils, that's like, now we're getting serious.
Really? Okay.
Like now we're getting ambulance now.
Whoa.
Those are tests that you do because that's how you sort out what kind of brain injury we're dealing with. Are we dealing with a concussion? Are we dealing with just a, external injury? Are we dealing with bleeding in the brain or something more, serious? And so if you've got somebody's like pupils are reacting differently and stuff like that, then you're talking getting the ambulance right now.
So you're above a concussion.
Get out of here. Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, concussion, it's not something that it's an invisible injury. Sometimes there's some signs, people having balance problems, people having looking like changing levels of consciousness, things like that,
Well,
like
they
looking
forget,
sleepy.
right? They're like, we had a guy
Sometimes
got hit on the other team, and we look over, he's sitting in our huddle with us.
Yeah.
And we look over like, what are you doing, dude?
Hey.
We had to tell the ref to like, this kid is not okay. Like he didn't know where he was. So I mean, I just remember that. But it's like
for anybody who is wondering if like how to tell if somebody has a concussion, you only need two things. One is a mechanism. So they get hit in the head, their head hits something hits their body. Like you can get hit I've seen people get hit in the chest and get a concussion.
Really?
Because it's not, you don't have to actually get hit in the head, it's the motion of the brain inside the head. So if you get hit hard enough in the chest and it makes your head accelerate fast enough to injure the brain, you get a concussion.
Oh.
So you have to have a mechanism, and then you have to have a sign or symptom.
Okay.
That was caused by that mechanism. So you get hit, makes your your brain move fast enough, and then we're looking at like headache, dizziness, nausea, memory problems, even so the one thing that now the eyes are getting to be a little bit more accessible as a way to determine if somebody has a concussion, because we've got something called the VOMS, which is a series of tests where we measure the motion of the eyes. And so it's like what they do on the sobriety test kind of deal, like some of those things.
Smooth transitions
to
shaky ones. Yeah.
Smooth pursuits.
Yeah.
So like your eyes should be able to follow an object smoothly.
Yeah.
Saccades, like your eyes should be able to jump from one thing to another accurately and quickly.
Mm-hmm.
The reflexes of being able to track something that's sitting still while you're moving, your eyes' ability to work together to
You're pretty good at
like
that.
track
I
something
can't
that
even
comes
do
closer
that
to you.
sober, normal. I don't know how you got
Yeah.
it across that quick, but that was
Yeah.
interesting.
So
Okay.
like all those things, those are like things that we can use as signs, but all you have to have is one of them.
Interesting.
It doesn't have to be, it doesn't have to be like you were in a train wreck. It's just you got hit and it caused one of these things. It was the cause.
See, anytime I feel like I've had one, because I never went and got diagnosed, but you'd get hit and you'd see white and your ears are zoom, and you're like, for a little bit, you're like, whoa, ew, and then you kind of shake it off and you go back. But I mean, that's
Well,
I always thought that was because I've only felt it like twice,
Right.
and they were seriously high impact, and it's just like I don't know. It's the only time I've ever seen white. Like
Yeah.
you see just white. That's it. So it's pretty interesting. I don't know.
Sometimes people just get like a little shock too.
Yeah.
Like and that's not
So
necessarily
maybe it's
always
not
a concussion.
like
but
without getting tested, I don't know. But when you only feel something a couple times, and then I guess like maybe that's probably what that was.
Yeah.
But I don't know.
But
So.
long story short is you need somebody there.
Yeah.
You need somebody there because you go back and play more football, even if nobody touches. I mean, that doesn't happen in football, but say you're playing soccer and you get a concussion. You go back to play for 15 minutes. Nobody touches you, but you run around for 15 more minutes. That has a significant impact on your recovery time. Like
really?
It can make you take twice as long to recover from 15 minutes more being on the field.
Wow.
You have to get care. I mean, and for people with concussions, if you do get one, some of them are kind of like what I consider more simple, that they recover in a normal amount of time, 1 to 2 weeks, maybe 3 at most, to where they're, really ready to go. If you have any red flags, things like your eye tests are really outside of the normal, things like history of multiple concussions or history of severe concussions, prolonged recoveries, things like that, you need to really get treatment to where you're doing an intervention, like you're doing something to make it better.
Yeah.
Within 5 days.
Really?
And that's a problem that's another reason to have an athletic trainer, and hopefully one that is really up to date, is that after 5 days, like you've missed an opportunity to really get it fast enough to have the optimal impact on your recovery time.
Interesting.
It's not that like after 5 days, like it's pointless to go get treatment.
Yeah.
It's just that if you can get started within 5 days with like figuring out what the impacts are and address them, your chance of having a normal recovery or vastly improved.
I didn't know that it actually causes other symptoms. So we had a guy that we played with. He got multiple. He'd always lead with his head and murder people. So he actually developed epilepsy, is what they thought. He never had it, and he ended up getting a couple concussions, and he had like bad epilepsy ever since. Like, yeah, it's pretty interesting, like what that stuff can do to you.
Yeah, I wonder if he had one of those injuries that was a little bit more than
concussion.
Maybe. Maybe he had some kind of chemical damage.
But man, crazy.
Yeah, it can.
Why do you see it more? And I could be wrong, but I'm guessing. Like, of course, Muhammad Ali got his brain messed up, but why don't you see him as much in boxing and MMA as I feel like you do football? Because I mean, you'd think like repeated blows to the head would really be like, whoa. Like, is it just because there's more football players than boxers?
Well, certainly. I mean, if you look at I don't know what the average rate is of concussion in either of those sports, because I don't work in either of those sports. And really, I don't care about averages that much, other than just to know whether I should be looking for something hard or not.
Right.
But you look at those sports, and I know in football, I read one study a couple years ago that over the course of each season, the Cincinnati University of Cincinnati got 9 concussions per season for their team. So for 4 years, and then they did
52 players.
Yeah,
so 52
so
players, 9 concussions.
that's
That's
like
a pretty high percentage.
What, like an 18% chance?
That's pretty high. That's
Yeah.
not good.
Well, yeah, it's not great.
Yeah. I guess if you really
But then
average it out,
they did
because-
these eye exercises. This is something that really interests me. They, of course, I'd really like to find a way to do this and make it accessible to everybody, like to make it accessible to Dundee High School. But they had, probably $250,000 worth of equipment that they were using, and they did these eye exercises with their team, and each different position they'd have a little bit different exercises. But they had these eye exercises they do with like light boards and stuff like this to improve their reaction time and otherwise.
Yeah, those things are cool.
Improve their vision, like peripheral vision and things like that. And they went down to, I think, 1.2 concussions per year.
Really? Just from the eye
4
exercises?
years. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Whoa. I mean, they do them a lot with like tennis balls. Like they'll do like the quick like reaction,
Yeah.
like trying to grab them.
Yeah.
And then I've seen the lights, and those things
Right.
are cool.
Yeah. Those are very expensive.
Yeah, those are sweet though.
But I'd like to see how that works with Division III soccer, high school soccer players. Like, does it have as much of an impact for high school soccer players as it does for D1 football players? Because that they're different. They're so different that maybe those results don't translate.
Right.
But if it's something that could help high school kids not end up with brain injuries in high school, I think that would be. And not only that, they did the same exercises with their baseball team, and their batting averages improved while everybody else, like while the pitchers were getting better. Their batting averages improved. Everybody else in their league batting averages were going down.
Huh.
So it not only can help potentially reduce injury, because I'm guessing that it probably reduces other types of injury as well.
Why?
If you can't see it, you can't react to it. I mean, there might be other things to it. I don't think they've, like, it's all very preliminary studies on that stuff.
Yeah,
so,
I just wonder why.
but
Like, it's crazy to think about.
Yeah, I mean, but if you can't see something coming, you can't get out of the way, or you can't, like, if you can see it just a hair faster and you can go.
Yeah.
Now your whole body, if you get hit, your whole body goes because your neck muscles brace. And so you're like, they have to move the whole mass of your body rather than like, if you're not protecting yourself, if you get hit and you get like,
Right.
Yeah. So, but I'm guessing that probably would, and this is purely guesses, but probably helps other injuries too.
Yeah. Well,
but if you can reduce injury and keep your players on the field, totally worth it.
Yeah.
On top of it, if you can have performance increases at the same time, that's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
And you do all that by taking, 20 minutes 3 times a week and doing eye exercises. I'm in.
That's crazy. Our coach used to teach us, keep your head on a swivel. Like, and that's the only sport like that, because he's like, don't want to get caught out slacking in the open field. Like,
yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it's like, so when you're running, especially on like a punt, right, or a kick, like when you're running down the field and it's open, that's like, you're really like, a part of you is almost like you're anxious, like you don't want to get nailed. So like a lot of times you're like, is anyone trying to catch me? But at the same time, you're trying to kill that guy. It's such a crazy sport.
Well, ice hockey.
Jesus.
Some
of those collisions the speed that those guys can get up to and hit each other.
Yep.
Whoa.
You've got to protect yourself
with the helmet this thin. It's like the thinnest goddamn helmet ever too. It's just like, that's a scary sport.
Helmets are just there to keep you from fracturing your skull.
Really? It doesn't matter the thickness or the pad, because the NFL's developing new helmets to help with CTE and concussions and everything.
Yep, they're totally going to help too. They'll definitely work. The only thing that I've seen so far that maybe has an impact when it comes to helmet technology is the weight of the helmet. If you can get a lighter helmet so that your neck doesn't have to hold up as much weight, That's the only thing I've seen have any impact.
Interesting.
I mean, it'd be great if they find something that works. Cool. Right now, the technology of helmets prevents you from fracturing your skull. And for most of the helmets now that have facial protection, it helps reduce facial injury. But they're not there to protect you from concussion as much as they might say that they do. They don't.
The new rules should really help it. So, I mean, they've done a lot. No helmet to helmet contact.
Have you seen? Did you
No
see that?
defenseless receiver hits.
Did you see the SNL skit?
No.
They got the helmets being developed by Volvo.
Oh my God, no! I didn't
Google.
see it.
I'll show it to you after the show.
Okay.
But everybody, Google SNL Volvo helmet. I don't know. Maybe let me look. Let's see. Volvo helmet videos. What am I looking for? Maybe not. Maybe take out Volvo. SNL football helmet. It's hilarious. They come out with this gigantic helmet developed by Volvo. It's like this big, and they say, "Don't forget the new rule when you tackle the quarterback. Cradle the head. Put your princess to bed."
That's funny. Oh boy,
I got to find that because it cracks me up. Yeah, but I guess
yeah, cool. We spent over an hour talking about. I'm sure most people are like, "What?" I think it's interesting.
Sports medicine. People like sports medicine.
I'd hope so.
It is interesting.
When the idea is when you watch shows like this, when you read things, like you should just expand, like right, just expand a little bit. You don't have to be a master at anything, maybe one thing, but at the same time, it's just nice to expand your knowledge and learn a little bit of something new.
I don't plan on teaching anybody anything that useful by having these conversations, but it's enough to like, okay, well, you know what? You're interested in, if you're in sports medicine or emergency medicine or otherwise, especially emergency medicine. And this is a big reason why I recommend that you have an athletic trainer, because they're the experts in sports medicine.
Yeah.
We're not doctors, but we're the expert in sports medicine, other than, a couple physicians that are a little bit higher. But anyway, if you're in emergency medicine, just look into the VOMs. Just look into it. It's like a quick, easy test you can do in the emergency room. And it might, as much as it might not change your diagnosis in any way, it might change your referral so that you can make sure that you can get them the care that they need a little bit faster. And so you can get inside that 5-day window. But just if I can pique people's interest about little things where they can go do their own research on it, that's where I try to fit into that little bubble there.
And if you want to invest in our low alcohol volume sports drink, you can contact us at it's rare at
gmail.com. Oh, I got it right before. We didn't talk about the Taliban at all.
No, we got into sports medicine way too hard, dude.
You got to look at this can. We might be stealing an idea from these people.
Mountain Brew Ice.
But then look at, like, let me see. How do I zoom in? View file.
We didn't steal this idea. I didn't hear about this.
Look at.
What? Yeah, but that alcohol's way too high.
It's got like, my God.
Yeah, 5.5's way too high.
You know who makes it? Jenny.
Yeah, I saw that.
I think it's just Jenny Ice. But look, they got a guy like punching somebody. Is that dude? Is he fishing?
I can't tell.
I think he's maybe ice fishing. I'm not sure. He's playing baseball. Is softball or golf? Is this one? Maybe?
That one's baseball. The one to the left, I don't know what the hell that is.
Is that basketball, soccer?
Can't tell.
Volleyball, maybe. I think that's just another person punching somebody. Maybe fencing. I don't know. But
okay.
that label always cracks me up. A very cool brew, and it makes you good at these sports maybe. So that's the thing. You just can't write the word saying that
Right. You insinuate.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Yeah, ours is still going to be way cooler. It's not going to be 5.5% alcohol. So, yeah. It'll be like 3%.
What kind of flavor are we looking at? Beer flavor?
That beer flavor that you usually go for.
Beer
yeah.
flavor.
It'll be on all the sidelines. You wait. All the players will be goddamn hammered.
No, it'll be in the locker rooms.
The locker room.
In
there
the
you
locker
go.
rooms.
Yeah.
It's a recovery drink. Don't forget.
Oh god.
All right, everybody. Look at the size of my arm. I'm jacked.
Yeah, you're getting freaking jacked, dude. Dude, that camera is doing some justice for you right there. See, I'm not as chunky as I look. It's this goddamn camera. I'm telling you, don't trust the camera.
Don't trust the camera, but except for when you look at my arm and see how jacked. Look at that. Look at that thing.
It looks huge. Dude. Oh my god! Look at your forearms. It looks like you just like your Popeye.
Ladies.
Ladies. You're just gonna start being like this every show.
Of course I am.
All right.